My channel, Sunshine Shoulders. I'm Calvin. Thank you so much for stopping by again. I'm truly grateful. I'm here with Bruce, and believe it or not, this guy's seen more of the Philippines in 4 months than I've seen in 14 years. And welcome to the channel, Bruce. And I just want to get your take on the Philippines and your relationship to the Philippines, because I always like my viewers to hear another side, you know, besides mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really appreciate it. First, I just ask you, what's your name?
Bruce Velbusen.
And where are you from in the States?
Well, I'm from near Portland, Oregon, but I honestly haven't lived there in about 30 years. I've been living in Asia for over 30 years now.
Wow. See, that's interesting because, you know, they got all this Passport Joe, Passport Bro stuff. They act like it's new. And you've been over here for 30 years.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 59. But don't tell anyone on social media that.
Yeah, we're the same damn age. You know, when you came up yesterday on your motorcycle, because he's staying at the guest house, I looked at you, I was like, man, I know this guy from somewhere before. And I told Marilyn, I said, I know him from somewhere. I couldn't figure it out, but we met at the meet and greet in Dumaguete.
Yep.
Right?
I just randomly showed up to that underground coffee shop, Ground Zero coffee shop.
Yeah.
And there's 100 people there. I'm like, what the heck's going on? Like, oh, there's a meet and greet going on for vloggers. I'm like, okay, well, that's cool.
Did you eat anything there?
Yeah, sure.
The food was good, right?
Yeah, food's good. The drinks are good, like the coffee and things like that. Nice place.
Yeah. It seemed to be more foreigners in Dumaguete because of that, right? If I were new and I went in there, I think, man, there's so many foreigners here in Dumaguete. Right?
Well, I mean, Dumaguete is a great place. I can see why it's a great place to live. Like, it's not too big. It's not too small. It's got lots of different restaurants. Like, I had the best Chicago deep dish pizza I've ever had in my life there. It was amazing. Wow. Yeah, called The Hideout. Great place.
Yeah.
Just a tiny little hole in the wall, but the pizza was amazing. Yeah. And there's a lot of different variety of food, and the streets are wide, and there's not a lot of traffic. Yeah, and the people, from my experience, the foreigners were super friendly.
Yeah.
And Filipinos are always friendly, so great. It was a nice place.
Yeah. Now, when you came to St. Carlos City, what surprised you about this place?
The design of the city. It's really well designed. Like, it's broad, the nice streets, and they have that big open park area. Yeah, I was really surprised at how, clean and well structured it was. It's a nice place, too. Yeah.
Now, when you came to the guest house, how is that guest house, in your opinion? As some place that I let, you know, my viewers and subscribers, anybody passing through here, do you think that's a pretty nice place over there?
I mean, I've told you that I'm traveling around the Philippines by motorcycle for 6 months or so, and I stay in a lot of cheap hotels. 1,000 pesos is kind of my general budget. And, this is easy, 2,500 peso place. It's a nice place.
Wow.
Sure.
And that's a compliment. But let me ask you this. You've been here for 30 years. What made you all of a sudden want to leave America 30 years ago? You're so much ahead of everybody else.
Well, actually, my background was in Chinese languages, economics, international relations, and I used to work in China a lot. Yeah. So it was just a natural place for me to live in Hong Kong. I speak a couple of Chinese languages, so I based myself in Hong Kong. And at that time, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 or maybe 5 years ago, I always said, you know, it's not like I don't want to live in America. It's that I just prefer living in Asia. I think my attitude has changed significantly, especially over the last 5 to 10 years, where I think there's no way I'd be interested in moving back to the States. I think it's far better living here than it is there.
Wow. So where do you live now?
Now I live in Bangkok, Thailand.
Bangkok, Thailand, yeah, which is interesting because people always want to compare the Philippines and Thailand, and I don't get it because we were talking about this off camera. Tell them, in your opinion, why that's really impossible.
Well, okay. Tourists generally go to the top 8 or 9 places in Thailand. And that's Bangkok, Pattaya, Chiang Mai, Samui, Koh Phangan, Phuket, maybe Krabi and Phi Phi. Those are the tourist spots. That's where people go. The Philippines is so different because, number one, it's a lot bigger in area. You have to travel around to so many different places, but there are 1,000 amazing places to go here. And so, number one, there are maybe a third less tourists, like 60% less tourists here than there are in Thailand. Number two, they're all spread out all over the place because there are amazing places here, incredible places that should be like internationally famous that nobody's even heard of. It's amazing here.
Yeah, and this is what I try to tell people. So a lot of times what they're really comparing is the women. That's really what it is, because there's no way you can do that. And that's what they're comparing Bangkok and Manila. It's so many places over in the Philippines, and the Philippines doesn't suffer from over-tourism. What's the name of that place you said you went to?
Oh, Blue Falls.
Blue Falls. You said it was just an amazing place.
It should be internationally famous. There's like 25 falls. There's canyons. There's underwater caves. It was one of the most amazing places I've ever seen in my life. And during my entire 6 hours at that location, I saw 2 other people, and they were both locals. They were both Filipinos.
Yeah, absolutely. And see, believe it or not, that's how it is pre-pandemic. Because I talk about Siquijor Island all the time and how remote it is, because it's the lack of tourists. They scare us away from this place. Okay? Just like, may he rest in peace, condolences to his family. The governor that was assassinated, they're going to use that to smear this place. Yeah. They don't tell you the good stuff about it. And, hey, you know what? More than likely, that's never going to happen to you. Okay? But they always compare Thailand to the Philippines. They never compare it to Vietnam. They never compare it to Cambodia or Indonesia. And it's such a limited, we have such a limited view and a limited knowledge of each country. There's no comparison.
Yeah, it's true. And, okay, you want to compare cities?
Yeah.
Okay, Manila is not nearly as nice as Bangkok.
That's right.
No question about it. Bangkok is way nicer. But, I mean, Cebu, Pattaya, there's a lot of comparisons you can make, but they're literally apples and oranges. It's really hard to compare the two. But as far as safety goes, if you don't mind me commenting about safety.
No.
Having lived in Southeast Asia for 30 years and I've worked in businesses and in industries where we have a lot of people come to Thailand from the West.
Right.
And, people are always talking about, is it safe? Is it safe? It's like, okay. The only people I've known in Southeast Asia for 30 years who've really run into significant problems were out late at night, drinking a lot, probably accidentally flashing their cash, leaving a bar or something like that drunk, and end up getting in trouble. Okay, like, I'm from Portland, Oregon. You're from Louisville, Kentucky.
Yeah.
You go to the wrong place at the wrong time in America, yeah. You can get into a lot of trouble. You just got to be smart wherever you are in the world. In my opinion, it's far safer here than it is back home, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's my opinion too.
Yeah.
Just based on my boots on the ground experience.
Sure.
I no longer tell people it's safe, Bruce. I tell them it's safe for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you're into.
Yeah.
I don't know where you're going. Like you said, people are drinking, they're partying late at night. You're wearing all this fancy stuff, which you don't need it to do that over here. It's too hot, first of all. You got a nice golf shirt on, but pretty soon you probably have to take that off. But you're on a motorcycle though.
Yeah.
So you're getting that wind. So tell us about this trip you're on.
Yeah.
Briefly, just tell us about this trip.
So in my life, I've been lucky enough and maybe crazy enough or stupid enough to do a lot of random things. And I have a lot of freedom that way. And so I just decided that I wanted to take a solo motorcycle tour in the Philippines. So on the 1st of September, I arrived in Manila. I bought a motorcycle and I started touring. And I've been all over Luzon, everywhere in Luzon that's reasonable to go.
Yeah.
And then came down and I've been touring Visayas now. And just finished, and now here I am on Negros, and I'm pretty much finished with Visayas now. My next group of island, my next destination will be Mindanao, and I'll tour the entire island of Mindanao.
Now, what's the name of your channel? Because you said you're not doing it for views or anything like that. You're basically documenting this trip.
Yeah.
But you do have a channel.
Yeah, I do, and
what's the name of it?
Bumps and Bruce's Asian Adventures, like my name.
Okay, Bumps and Bruce's.
Yeah, when I decided,
I believe you did give me a card.
No, did I give you a card?
I think you did, because now that you said bumps and bruises, I'm looking at that. I'm seeing that in my mind's eye.
Okay.
But give me another one.
Okay.
Because Booby probably got rid of that one.
Yeah, like when I decided to come on this trip, I told my sister back in America, and she's like, "Why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Why not?" And her answer was, "Okay, that's a good answer."
Has anything surprised you, though? Because you've been to a lot of places.
It's become a running joke when I make my videos how kind people in the Philippines are and how welcoming they are. Like, I have one video where I was in Bohol and I'm on this beach and this family invites me to come eat with them and they're giving me all kinds of food, and I say in the video, "Oh, these people are so nice," and then I say, "Well, yeah, but pretty much everyone in the Philippines is really nice." It's like a running joke. So, it's been, and of course, because I've lived in Hong Kong and Thailand, places where they don't speak English.
Yeah.
The fact that everyone speaks English here, or almost everyone speaks English, is such a benefit and makes it so much easier to get around.
Yeah.
So that's been great. I think the thing that's probably surprised me the most is how rugged this country is. I mean, it's obviously I'm not a geologist,
right,
but it's obviously a relatively new landmass, volcanic. And there's huge boulders and great, lava rocks everywhere. It's pretty interesting. That shocked me. And and of course, the fact that some places the roads are so bad has also surprised me.
yeah. But you said something on our walk today, because Bruce walked with us today. It was 4 of us today. We may have started something because we're walking every morning.
Good.
And every time somebody comes here, we just add on and keep going.
12,000 steps. I'm tired.
Yeah. Because that's what the guy says. He says, "Oh, it's 4 of you this morning." So see, they're watching, but they'll never, tell you they're watching.
Yeah.
And you said about you being from an advanced country, or a developed country.
Yeah.
You like undeveloped stuff, like natural things.
Yeah.
But over here, where it's undeveloped, they like developed stuff.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. It's interesting because I think it seems kind of obvious when you think about it. Like, when you live in an underdeveloped country, you would like places that you think are beautiful or amazing are the developed things. Like, I mentioned that I went to some kind of ocean lookout, and what I like to see is this beautiful white sand beach that doesn't have any development, But, people in the Philippines like these, like, restaurants that are very, very professional and very modern, but they have a beautiful view. And you can understand
Wi-Fi and all that.
Yeah,
right?
You can understand how that would be appealing to someone who lives in a country that is underdeveloped.
But the natural beauty here is really unmatched.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. And I try to tell people that, but of course I've only seen a very small piece of this place. So I never try to compare it to anywhere, because we're all on the same earth. It's not like the Philippines is in outer space and Thailand and somewhere else.
Yeah.
In some other type of, universe.
Yeah.
So, they both can be beautiful, but I don't know why we... Now, have you had any romantic connections in Southeast Asia? Have you been married before?
Oh, I was married when I first moved to Hong Kong. That's kind of a tragic story about my ex-wife who had been abused as a child and had some serious mental health issues. Been in Bangkok and, had several girlfriends there, never led to marriage yet.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed my time in the Philippines. I'm very honest while I'm traveling and telling people, listen, I'm only here for a couple of days, so I'm not making promises, but I've met a lot of amazing girls, a lot of super nice girls who would definitely make very good girlfriends or wives. And who knows, right?
Yeah.
When I finish my trip, I've got about 12,000 kilometers so far. You mentioned, seeing a lot.
Yeah.
I've got like 8,000 miles of driving since I've been
That's
here.
A lot.
So I've been around a lot.
So how much do you have left? I know you said you got Mindanao left. Now, that's a huge place.
I'm assuming it's going to be another month or 6 weeks, because I think I was in Luzon for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I went all over the place there. Mountain Province, all the way up to the north, Santa Ana, both sides. And Yeah, I went everywhere in Luzon. It was about 6 weeks. I guess Mindanao will be about the same, maybe a month.
What do you do out on the road? Do you have a radio or something? Are you listening to music or something?
Sometimes I'll download like Joe Rogan podcasts.
Yeah,
and just listen to that while I'm driving because I have some headphones in my helmet.
Okay.
But it's also an interest. I don't drive that much every day. I mean, you might think I'm driving like 8-10 hours. No. I generally drive around 3.5 hours every day. And I've got no itinerary. I don't really know where I'm going day to day. I just look at a map and go there. So, yeah, generally 3.5 hours. I usually get up at about 7 in the morning and get on my bike before it gets too hot. Drive for an hour and a half, stop for some coffee or something. Drive for another hour and a half, 2 hours until I get to where I want to go. And okay, then I'm there. And then I have that day to relax, and then the next day to also I've found because I did this crazy YouTube channel. The thing that surprised me the most was how much time it takes editing video.
Yeah.
That
when you do it like you do it.
Yeah, not
like Matt. I'm about as raw as it comes. Yeah. I'm like the Flintstones compared to you. Well, basically.
Unfortunately, nobody wants to watch like 8 hours of me driving my motorcycle and walking around the mall, so I have to do more editing. So
now, what are you driving? That's a question I need to ask. What are you driving?
I've got an X-Max, which a lot of people in the Philippines know what an N-Max is. It's a 155cc Yamaha scooter. I have the X-Max, which is like the older brother. It's like 300. It's 300 cc's. It's a little bigger. So it's very comfortable. It's like a sofa, driving around the Philippines on a sofa.
Is it hard to maneuver? Is it heavy?
It's a little bit heavy, I suppose. And, if I had known when I started this trip I was going to be crossing landslides and traversing rivers like I have, I probably would have chosen a different bike, maybe some kind of one that's a little bit more adventure. Maybe not an adventure bike, but something that's a little bit more adventure street combo. But it's a nice bike to drive around if you've got good roads. But when you're crossing a river, and I've crossed 4 rivers and multiple landslides, then I sometimes wish I had a different bike. But I love that bike. It's a nice bike.
What type of person would do a trip like this? Because I know there's people who want to drive across the Philippines in a car. Because one of my subscribers asked that I want to go with him. And I think he's coming in May or something. And I'm thinking, well, Maryland was never allowed me to do that. I'm not single. I'm single because we're not married. But I'm not single. I couldn't do it. But what would what type of person does that?
Well, you could say adventurous, crazy, or stupid. Choose whichever one you think is appropriate.
You haven't had any trouble?
Zero.
Right?
Zero. I've had a great time. An amazing time. And people ask me that question. Like, I get that question 2 or 3 times a day. Oh, are you single? Do you have a wife? Do you have a girlfriend? Like, okay, let's just think about this logically. Think of any wife or girlfriend, and you say, hey, baby, I'm going to go drive solo motorcycle trip around the Philippines for 6 months.
Yeah.
What's their answer? No,
absolutely not.
So, of course, I'm 100% single. So
now I'm going to ask this before we get off here. What is your, you said you don't have an itinerary, but do you have like a budget?
Yeah. Like my general rough daily budget is 2,500 pesos per day. That's not strict at all because I go over quite often. I go under occasionally, but I go over quite often. And that's like my general budget is 1,000 pesos per night in a hotel, which gives you a really rough hotel. It's nothing fancy. It probably has air conditioning, probably doesn't have hot water, and hopefully it doesn't have too many cockroaches, or 0 cockroaches is better. But it's nothing fancy, nothing fancy. But then another 1,500 for eating and running around and doing stuff like that.
That's a lot to eat, though. Okay, one more thing I want to ask you.
Not if you're on a date.
If you're on a date. I forgot. But people don't believe me when I say your biggest expense is probably laying next to you in the bed. They don't believe that, but it is. But anyway, I want to ask you about the food in Malwani because I talk about it all the time. You had a chance to try the ribs over there. Oh, what do you think about that?
Those were really good and really cheap. 380 pesos. I mean, we talked a little bit about the difference between Thailand and the Philippines and which is more expensive. Okay, I live in Bangkok, so it's not really a fair comparison, but Bangkok is way more expensive than the Philippines. Maybe Pattaya is comparable, but I would still say if I was going to compare the two, that the Philippines can be significantly cheaper. I would say if you wanted to live really cheaply in Thailand, you can. You can live super cheap in Thailand if you're willing to.
Right.
But I don't think a lot of people, a lot of Westerners are willing to only eat street food.
Absolutely.
Things like that. So if you're not only eating street food, it's generally more, 20-30% more expensive in Thailand than the Philippines, in my opinion.
Well, see, that's interesting because I was told, and I told you this before I went, Calvin, your money's going to go further in the Philippines. So he had already planted the seed in my head. And even though I was only there for 5 days, I came away thinking, oh, my money did go further in Thailand, which you've got how many years in Thailand?
Over 20.
Over 20 years. So you know a whole lot better than me that that's not true, right?
Well, I would say definitely Pattaya is, because that's where you spent most of your time, right?
Well, 3 days in Bangkok, 2 days in Pattaya.
Okay. In my opinion, Bangkok is far more expensive. Pattaya is slightly more expensive. And we're talking now about going to like Western restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
Street food is street food. You can get it cheap everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But, going to more Western restaurants, Pattaya is significantly cheaper than Bangkok, but I think both of them are more expensive than the Philippines. Those ribs that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's 380. That's like 250, 240 pesos, 240 baht.
Yeah.
Like, you're never going to touch anything like that in Thailand anywhere for that price. No.
Now, overall, the food is more. You have more of a selection in Thailand.
Yes.
The food is delicious. Okay.
Yes.
But like I say, there's only so much you can do with beef, chicken, fish, and pork.
Yeah.
Okay. But those ribs over there are on par with what I eat at home in America.
They're really good. I would say that the Philippines has a lot of Western fast food, and then they have some good Western restaurants. Mm-hmm. Thailand, it's more international. I mean, like when I say Western restaurants, like American restaurants, like Army, Navy, things like that. They don't have anything like that in Thailand. But Thailand, especially Bangkok and Bangkok, Chiang Mai, a lot of those places that we're talking about, they're a lot more international. So you'll have like Greek food and German food and French food and all kinds of really amazing food from different countries.
Yeah.
But it is more expensive, and Thai food, in my opinion, is significantly more. It tastes better
tastier
than local Filipino food.
Yeah, it's tastier. I've just been fortunate to have women around me who are good cooks here.
Yeah.
So I haven't missed a beat really because I didn't really eat fancy in America.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had fried chicken, fried fish, baked fish, whatever it is, rice, potatoes, green beans and stuff like that. It was only when I went to Thailand that I ate all that fancy stuff.
Yeah.
But I was only there for 5 days. But this has been a pretty interesting conversation. I knew it would be because people always want to compare Thailand to the Philippines. So right now we're going to say stop it, guys, okay?
Yeah.
Because there's no comparison.
It's apples and oranges.
It's apples and oranges. There's no way you can legitimately compare the two.
Yeah.
There's just too many places in the Philippines that you haven't been.
Yeah.
And I haven't been.
Yeah.
And the people who are sitting on YouTube who are trying to compare the two haven't been.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's a limited view. You're just comparing your experience in Thailand to your experience in the Philippines.
Yeah.
And really, who gives a damn?
Yeah.
We don't care about that.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing both an injustice. You can enjoy both of them like you.
Oh, yeah.
You've been to Vietnam, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Cambodia.
20 times, yeah.
Indonesia.
Sure.
Yeah, so many places around here you can see, but they're stuck on that. But I'm telling them, you don't know what's over here in the Philippines. You're only scratching the surface. Guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've driven like 8,000 miles, and people are always telling me, you got to visit this, you got to visit this, you got to visit this. I mean, I don't possibly have time to visit more than 10% of the interesting places in the Philippines. No possibility.
There's no possible way you could do it.
Unless I was doing this for 6 years.
But thanks again, Bruce. And remember, what's the name of your channel again?
Bumps and Bruce's Asian Adventures.
Okay. Y'all go and check his channel out because it's interesting. I was looking at a little bit of your stuff last night.
Oh, okay.
This is for people who like to see the Philippines.
Yeah.
You know, they don't want to look at your face all day.
No, they don't look at my face.
And they're not worrying about engaging with you or not. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And, check him out because he's not really doing it. I told him, I said, I'm the same way. I started out the same way. I wasn't doing it for the views and this and that, but then all of a sudden, boom, it just exploded out of nowhere. You never can tell when it's going to happen.
And I have no idea who are subscribing and watching my videos now because I just don't have that many friends, so I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's an algorithm.
I guess.
It'll put your videos in front of people and they'll say, okay, Philippines, you know, because a lot of your titles probably have the Philippines in them, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to bring up a lot of people. It's the most popular genre on YouTube.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You could just make a video. Every video I have has the Philippines in it.
Okay.
The title.
Okay.
That's part of the algorithm. That's going to make people click on it. You see the stuff that we were talking about today.
Yep.
The junk, really, where they'll go to the mall and just grab a girl and just sit her down. Well, what do you think about dating foreigners? And it's junk, really, in my opinion, okay? My humble opinion. But it gets views.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's the Philippines.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you again, Bruce.
No problem.
I appreciate you stopping by again. If you're in America, it's getting late. Before you let your head hit the pillow, please find somebody to help. But if you don't want them late grocery runs, beer runs, weed runs, people get on my case when I say weed. It's legal in Thailand, right?
Completely
it's legal in America.
Yeah.
They say, what are you talking about weed? If you're on second shift, or you're on your lunch break and see somebody out there in the street or wherever you see them, buy them something to eat, buy them something to drink, give them a few dollars. If you're in the Philippines, it's about 10:15 a.m. You still got all day to help somebody over here. Do you help people over here, Bruce?
Yeah, we have a scholarship program. I mentioned briefly about my mom.
Yeah.
And the story about that's a long story.
Yeah, it's a long story. Yeah.
But my mom was a teacher, so we've developed a scholarship fund for teachers who want to get master's degrees.
Yeah.
So we've been visiting schools and helping teachers get their master's degrees.
Yeah. See, I believe that you're helping yourself by doing that. Maybe that's why you haven't had any accidents on your trip.
Good possibility. Why not?
See, we were talking about that today. We depend so much on our five senses over there. We don't realize there's so much more out here.
Yeah.
So if somebody talks about universal law, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, that's spooky. No.
Yeah.
Life is a whole lot bigger than five senses, guys, okay?
Yep.
And thank you so much. Now the day goes by, I don't help somebody over here, Bruce.
That's great.
Okay, we helped kids today at school today. We bought them Jollibee, all that. Because if I don't know anything else, I know this one thing for sure. We help other people, we help ourselves. Take care, stay safe, stay COVID free. I'll see you next time.
See you, everybody.